but I go back pretty far. And when my parents purchased the house in North Schuyler Road in 1950, and my mother got me into Hawthorne School. I was there for about a year and a half, and until they found us out that we were in the Beverly Hills post office. So what happened is that some suits came in and took me out of the school. I ended up over at West Hollywood School on Hammond Street. But that was my first, I would say, introductory life in Beverly Hills. But anyway, let's go quickly now through the early days of Beverly Hills. This site, Beverly Hills Women's Club is, we have a plaque right outside on a stone that denotes the battle. Those Indians were renegades at the time when, in the 1850s and 60s, when most of the Indians here were pretty much pacified Indians. They were not warlike at all. Many of them worked for the Gabrielianos, and many of them worked for the mission system. They attacked Maria Valdez's house here. Maria Valdez is the first major owner of this rancho. And Maria de Valdez lived right at Alpine and Sunset, where that French chateau is being built. She sent her son underneath the house and through an irrigation ditch, and he ran somehow to Sherman. There was no Sherman, California at the time, which is now West Hollywood, and there was a constabulary there, and they came up with the posse and chased the Indians up Benedict Canyon right to the site where they had the shootout, and all the Indians were killed and buried on this site. So when they dug the foundations for this house, they found the bodies, the skeletons. And of course it was a big deal at the time, and those bodies were then given back to the Indian tribe. I guess it's the only Indian battle in Beverly Hills' history. There you go. The balloon route was an idea for real estate, and you can see this is the rail route here. But you can see some of the names of the towns in around 1905. For example, Rosedale, right here, Rosedale Cemetery. Then we have Country Club, which is right here, which is approximately right where Arlington and Wilshire is. And then we have Melrose, which is more Hollywood. Prospect Park, Hollywood. Coal Grove is Hollywood as well. Laurel Junction is Sherman or West Hollywood. And then you have Morocco Junction. That is Beverly Hills. When the trains came through finally in the late 19th century, they put a little station there, Morocco Station. Basically, Beverly Hills was started as an oil investment in which Burton Green and E.L. Johini, who was the first to find oil, they started to drill for oil around Beverly Hills and really found water. Water is coming out of these hills like mad through artesian wells. We have some streams coming down Hillcrest, leading right down, which at the old Waverly Estate, at the corner of Sunset and Hillcrest. So Burton Green came up with the idea, if we're not going to get oil, let's form the Beverly Hills Land and Water Company. By 1906, they already are having the name Beverly Hills, named after Beverly Farms in Massachusetts. Well, this is where Sunset is right here. And this is approximately where Alpine is. Okay, this is the one of the first advertisements, October 21st, 1906. Now, between 1906 and 1911, they didn't sell too many lots. Actually, it was a bust. And they were getting kind of worried. They owned a lot of land. Burton Green, again, talks to his board of directors, said, you know, we're going to have to do something. Let's build a resort hotel to attract more potential buyers of real estate. They went to Mrs. Margaret Anderson, the builder of the Hollywood Hotel, and gave her a deal she couldn't refuse to come. We'll give you lots, we'll give you money, you build a hotel and operate it for us. So she did, and they built a hotel in late 1911. It was opened in 1912, and that's what it looks like. And that, of course, is Spanish colonial revival architecture. And they advertised with postcards all around the world, the hotel in Beverly Hills, open the year round. And Burton Green builds his estate that looks like an English Tudor mansion. Arthur Letts built a beautiful Tudor mansion as well, which is now the Playboy Mansion. This is the train station that was built in about 1906, and that used to say on the top, Morocco Station, and those are little bulbs up there, by the way, on the sign, and they could be lit at night, so you could see it from a distance, and that was located at Crescent Drive and Santa Monica Boulevard. But before that, It was called Burton Way. And Burton Way used to continue all the way through on South Santa Monica Boulevard. This is a view from the hotel looking east toward Alpine, toward Hillcrest. Right there's Sunset Boulevard, right there, with a trolley car on it, which was short-lived. The beginning of the celebrities in Beverly Hills started really with people like Gloria Swanson. That is Gloria, with her daughter in there, and the picture was taken in 1920. She loved to be in Beverly Hills, and she went to parties because of Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, who were her friends. At their new hunting lodge, transformed into a house called Pick Fair. Yes, it was Pia Zadora and her husband that did it. They demolished it because they wanted a Harold Lloyd Estate style house. So why didn't they just buy the Harold Lloyd Estate? Well, that was $65 million, and Pick Fair was only $35 million. So they went for the cheaper. Phyllis Lerner, the head of the Beverly Hills Historical Society at the time, myself, and Wally Neff's son, we were invited up there by Pia Zadora to look at what they were doing. They were doing a remodel. Remodel, right? So we went up there, and guess what we found? We found a chimney and a wall. That was the remodel. But anyway, Gloria was staying at the hotel, and she met many famous people at the hotel. One of them was Wrigley. Mr. Wrigley of Wrigley Field and Catalina Island and all this, and they hit it off, and she says, yes, he asked, where are you living? I'm saying, I'm staying in the hotel for now. And he said, well, you know, I just built a brand new, beautiful house right across the street from the hotel. Big mansion, grounds. Maybe you'd like to have it. And so, yes, she bought the Wrigley house. Harold Lloyd knew all of them. He purchased a major property off of Benedict Canyon. But he filmed in Beverly Hills because the Burton Green and his cohorts all were connected to the film industry as early as 1912. Some of the money that was used to sell property in Universal City area there in the valley on the old Taylor Ranch was owned by Burton Green. Charlie Chaplin already filmed in front of the hotel A Sailor Made Man in 1923, right when he was just about to build his own estate. And there it is, Pick Fair in all of its glory in 1922, with Douglas and Mary in their canoe in their kidney-shaped swimming pool. And there it is on postcards, like the Playboy Mansion. And then, of course, Silsby Spalding, one of the early investors, built his house out of one of the hunting lodges. And that's what this is, and that was called Gray Hall. He expanded the house quite a lot to make it a mini Playboy Mansion. That is the Howard Hughes restoration. The living room, which had the beautiful beam ceilings, all hand-painted, beautiful, gorgeous, fantastic living room. To bring more people to Beverly Hills for real estate purposes, they decided to start automobile racing. And they built one of the biggest racetracks in the world at the time. It was 4 miles long. This is Wilshire Boulevard right here. Right there. There's the eucalyptus trees as the windbreak. Here's Beverly Drive. Right? This is South Beverly Drive right here. And Rodeo Drive is right there. And there is the point right here of Santa Monica Boulevard here, meeting Wilshire. The Beverly Hilton is right there on that lot. And this is the Beverly Station where people would get out, and then the real estate people would meet them and show them around Beverly Hills. And one of the real estate people, Mr. Quinlan, who had the Quinlan Real Estate Company office right there. And it was a beautiful East Indian style. Inside, the proscenium was held up by Indian elephants. And it became the icon of Beverly Hills. People would write articles and say, we're here at Beverly Drive and Wilshire Boulevard at the iconic onion-domed Beverly Theater. The Bridal Path, of course, was put in 1924. Actually, the money was raised in 24. Hobart Bosworth was a famous actor who lived at Hillcrest and Sunset, just one lot above from the corner. He's one of the very first actors to act in films in California in 1909. He was a horse person. He was a cowboy, and not a cowboy. He played cowboys. He played Davy Crockett, Kit Carson in films from 1909. Can you imagine? Up to 1923. And then he started to do more dramatic roles. And I have his check for his part of the Bridal Path, and it's $4,500 in 1924. And this is the police department, a mounted police department, coming down Rodeo Drive for one of the horse shows. Hunting cabins were all through the hills, all the way from the beach, all the way into Hollywood. Laurel Canyon was a big hunting area. Benedict Canyon was a big hunting area. Pierce Benedict built his house right up here. Filmmaking, as I told you, continuing on throughout the 1920s. And they're actually shooting right here at the corner of Crescent and Sunset. They put a wooden platform under the car like this. They put a little wire to hold the camera, and the cameraman would hold on to the camera and the tripod, and they drive down the street of Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford being the superstars in the whole world. They went to Russia. They were greeted by, get this, 1 million people. Pickfair was the White House of the West, as they called it, because all the presidents and diplomats and people like Mountbatten and everybody would visit Pickfair. So Will Rogers, he knew them all also. He was really a cowboy, and he built his first major house in Beverly Hills on Crescent Drive next to the Wrigley Mansion. And he built a big polo field behind it on Beverly Drive, North Beverly Drive, the house that Jokes built. Charlie Chaplin came from Hollywood into Beverly Hills in 1921 and built his Italian-esque villa there on Summit Drive. I worked for the Chaplin estate for a number of years, and none of them had ever been to LA. Interesting, all grew up in Switzerland. And so when Jane was here and Geraldine and Chaplin's cousin, Betty Chaplin, I took them on a tour of Chaplin-esque Hollywood. This was, for me, this was like the Holy Grail. Look who I had in my car. Chaplin's children. Can you imagine? I was just on cloud nine. Of course, I made the arrangement for them to see the studio, the Chaplin studio on La Brea. And after we went through a whole tour there and everything, looked at his footprints and all, we went to the house. They never saw where Charlie lived for a long time. He lived here from 1921 to 1953. And this is it. And so I drove them to Summit, and the gates were open. So I drive up into this circular driveway, and guess what? The whole house is gutted. Gutted. All the walls are just wood. I mean, you know, all the plaster is gone. It's completely gutted. So there's a workman there, and I get out. We all get out, and I tell him who we are, and he says, yeah, you can look around. It's owned by a Korean guy. Oh, God, my heart sank. But then he says, don't worry about it. The Korean knows what he got. He wants Chaplin's house, and he's having restored exactly back to what this looked like. This is that famous spec house that's right at Parkway and Beverly Drive, which is still there. And the people that bought it a while ago put this box in here. It is still preserved, at least, and it's still one of the early days of Beverly Hills real estate. Beverly Hills Bridal Path, Beverly Hills, and it shows everybody wearing their little riding outfits around 1920. Now 1700 Lexington. This is Marion Davies' house. And Hearst purchased several houses, one for Marion, one for Marion's mother, and then there was the beach house. He restored it, the Santa Monica Conservancy. Right down on Pacific Coast Highway was the Grand Ocean House, their major house on the beach where all the big parties were held. He was getting older and he had a heart condition, so she bought him another estate much bigger, much more grand, like San Simeon. That is the famous Getz estate, Milton Getz, he was a famous industrialist and an investment banker. In the film The Godfather, there's the famous scene in which one of the guys wakes up with the horse's head in his bed. Remember that scene? They shot it there. And Hearst died there in 1951. Oh, this is supposed to be the inauguration of the Bridal Path in 1925. These are bagpipers leading the parade. There's Hobart Bosworth on North Hillcrest, looking over his domain. He went to sea as a young man, that's why he loved the sea, and he built this almost like in Massachusetts. You know, the houses are built with towers so you can look out at the ocean to see when your family members are coming back on the ships. The city fathers decided that they wanted to be a city, and before they had a mayor, they had an honorary mayor, and that was Will Rogers. In 1926, they named him the honorary mayor of Beverly Hills, and here he is looking over the police and fire department at the old fire station that used to be on Burton Way, right near, which is now where the library is. And Tom Mix, he decides to move to Beverly Hills with his wife Victoria Ford, and they build this Italian-esque villa there. This part of the house was her entertainment section, her living room, with, you know, she entertained her friends all in French Baroque style. And his side of the house was all Western style. In the middle part of the house, the bedroom where he lived in was all French Baroque. This is Frances Marion, the famous writer who wrote so many scripts for Mary Pickford, and her husband Fred Thompson, the famous Western star. They built their beautiful estate called Enchanted Hill, built above Benedict Canyon. It was a toast of Architectural Digest when it was built in 1924. Paul Allen purchased it and demolished it.
This is the end of part 1 of Marc Wanamaker's January 2011 History of Beverly Hills presentation at the Beverly Hills Women's Club. Stay tuned for part 2.